There are moments in life when someone says a sentence so sharp, so perfectly timed that it slices through the noise of your mind and etches itself into your memory forever. One line, just one, and it lives in your chest like a fire you didn't ask for but suddenly can't ignore. Maybe it was something a teacher said in passing. Maybe it was whispered by a mentor, a stranger, or even a villain, but it stuck, it echoed. It changed the way you saw yourself, or the world, or your future. That is the power of one line, not a speech, not a story, one line, delivered with precision, born from truth and packed with emotional weight. Most people underestimate words. They think the more they talk, the more they'll be heard. But the real magic lies in less, in compression, in the kind of sentence that doesn't need to be explained or expanded, because it already knows exactly where to land and what to activate inside you. Think about it. History remembers speeches, sure, but what gets quoted, printed, tattooed, shared for generations? The line, "I have a dream." Just do it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Be the change you wish to see. Simple, clean, electric, because the truth is, in a world overwhelmed by information, people don't remember everything you say. They remember how you made them feel. And one well-delivered line, one sentence that carries emotional weight, sharp intent, and real truth, can do what hours of talking never will. It can shift someone's identity. It can end a relationship. It can spark one. It can start a movement. It can stop a war. One sentence from the right person at the right time can be more explosive than 100 perfectly structured arguments. But here's what no one tells you. The ability to say that one unforgettable line isn't just about being clever. It's about being clear. It's about understanding the core of what you want to express, then slicing away everything that dulls the impact. It's not about being loud. It's about being precise. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs clarity, and clarity is what makes one sentence unforgettable. It's when every word carries weight. No fluff, no filler, just pure, distilled intent. And when that level of focus meets emotional truth, it creates electricity. It hits people where they live, not in their heads, but in their hearts. The mistake most people make is they overtalk. They dilute their message. They bury the gold under piles of safe language, over-explaining and justifying out of fear that they won't be understood. But when you truly know what you believe, when you've lived it, felt it, bled for it, you don't need to say much. Your words come with presence, with gravity. And that's when people listen. That's when they stop scrolling. That's when the room goes quiet. Because you're not just saying something, you're saying the thing they didn't know they needed to hear, the thing they'll remember long after you've left. So why is one line so powerful? Because it cuts through resistance. It's not trying to convince, it's declaring. It's not trying to impress, it's revealing. And when someone speaks from that level of honesty and simplicity, it's magnetic. We're drawn to it because it gives shape to things we feel but haven't yet named. A great one-liner gives your emotion a mirror. It makes you feel seen. It captures complexity in a flash. And in that moment, you're no longer just listening, you're experiencing. That's what sticks. Not facts, not logic, experience. You want people to remember you. Then stop saying everything. Start saying the essential. One line that tells the truth without apology or performance. And that one line will be louder than anything else in the room. Because it doesn't need to shout, it resonates. It vibrates with emotional frequency. People feel it in their bones. And they never forget how that felt. That's your power, not in volume, but in verbal velocity. Not in how many words, but in how much those words carry. So the next time you speak, on stage, on camera, to a friend, to the world, ask yourself, what is the one thing they must walk away remembering? What line carries the whole weight of what I believe? Cut the rest. Say that. And then stop talking. Let the silence after your words be the amplifier. Because when you speak the right sentence, silence is not empty. It's reverberation. It's the echo of impact. It's when people lean back and say, "Damn, I'm going to remember that." That's when you know you've spoken powerfully. One line can unlock someone's mind. One line can open a heart. One line can save a life. You don't need to say more. You just need to say the truth clearly and unapologetically. That's how they remember you forever. People rarely remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. That's the golden rule of communication, the one truth that separates forgettable talkers from unforgettable voices. And if you want to say one line that sticks in someone's soul forever, you need to stop obsessing over being smart and start focusing on being felt. Because impact isn't measured by how many syllables you use, how poetic your vocabulary is, or how clever you sound. It's measured by the emotional temperature you create. People don't crave more information. They're drowning in it. What they crave is resonance. They want to feel something, to be moved, to be seen, to be shaken out of the numbness of routine language. And that starts not with what you say, but why you say it. Think back to the moments in your life when someone's words hit you like a freight train. It wasn't because they used fancy metaphors. It was because in that exact moment, their sentence pierced something real inside you. Maybe it made you laugh in the middle of pain. Maybe it made you cry when you least expected to. Maybe it just froze you because suddenly someone put into words something you didn't even know you were carrying. That's emotional resonance. That's why some lines tattoo themselves into memory while others evaporate. The unforgettable ones touch the nerve, not just the surface. Here's the truth. We live in a world addicted to data and logic, but it's emotion that moves people to act, to remember, to change. That's why the most powerful speakers, leaders, artists, and even marketers understand this secret. Facts inform, but feelings transform. You can memorize 1,000 statistics and still fail to connect, but one line, spoken with emotional truth, can dismantle a belief system. It can rebuild someone's hope. It can inspire action that no logic ever could, because we don't just listen with our minds. We listen with our hearts, our bodies, our wounds. And when a sentence resonates on that level, it doesn't need to be explained. It lives there. This is why it's not enough to be technically right. You have to be emotionally aligned. Your words need to carry your heart, not just your head. You could say the exact same sentence in two different ways, one robotic and safe, one raw and real, and only one will be remembered. Because people can smell the difference between performance and presence, between words you rehearsed and words you meant. And when they feel that you mean it, that you've lived it, something opens up. Their guard drops. Their soul leans in. Not because you dazzled them, but because you were real. Because you didn't speak at them, you spoke to something in them. So how do you speak with that kind of emotional impact? You don't start with the audience. You start with yourself. What truth are you feeling? What sentence you needed to hear in your darkest hour? What line, if someone had said it to you at the right time, would have changed everything? That's where you begin, from your own rawness, from lived experience, from the scar, not the script. That's where the powerful lines are born, not in theory, but in truth. When your words are forged in fire, they carry heat, they carry weight, and people feel it. Emotion over information also means being willing to not sound perfect, because perfection kills connection. You don't need the smoothest delivery. You don't need to sound like a TED Talk. You need to feel what you're saying. When you're moved by your own words, you transfer that to the person listening. That's how energy travels. That's how meaning sticks. You cry, they remember. You laugh from your core, they feel it. You speak from a wound, they lean in closer. Your energy is the real message. The words are just the vessel. It also means knowing which emotion to activate. Do you want them to feel courage? Then speak from a moment when you were scared and moved forward anyway. Do you want them to feel understood? Then share a sentence that helped you feel seen. Do you want to light a fire in them? Then let them see the fire inside you. Don't tell them how to feel. Feel it yourself and let them catch it. Emotion is contagious when it's authentic. But don't mistake drama for depth. This isn't about being theatrical, it's about being honest. Sometimes the most powerful emotion is stillness. One sentence delivered quietly without decoration can hit harder than shouting ever could. Why? Because it's not about volume. It's about vulnerability. The people who speak unforgettable lines are the ones who speak from emotional clarity. They've sat with their truth. They're not trying to manipulate or impress. They're trying to connect. And that intention is what gives their words staying power. So next time you want to say something that lasts, forget the formulas. Don't reach for intellectual complexity. Ask, what do I feel, and how can I say it as it is, without filter or fluff? Then speak from that place, from the gut, from the scar, from the pulse of a real moment. That's what hits, that's what echoes, that's what lives on after you're gone. People might forget the details of your speech, your video, your message, but if you made them feel something real, if you said one line that touched something sacred inside them, they'll never forget you. And that, more than anything, is how you become unforgettable. In a world addicted to noise, saying less is a superpower. Brevity isn't just a stylistic choice, it's a form of bravery. It takes courage to say something simply. It takes discipline to strip away the fluff, the filler, the over-explanation, and speak with fierce clarity. But when you do, something magical happens. People stop, they listen, and they remember. The sharpest sentences are the shortest. The words that change lives rarely need more than a few beats. And that's not because they're minimal, it's because they're intentional. When every word matters, the impact multiplies. That's the paradox. The fewer words you use, the louder they echo, if they're the right words. Most people hide behind too many words. They're afraid of being misunderstood, so they explain. They're afraid of judgment, so they dress their truth in fancy language. But what they don't realize is that in trying to say everything, they end up saying nothing. The message gets lost in the excess. The power is diluted, the punch is softened. But those who understand brevity, who dare to speak like a blade instead of a blanket, they don't just communicate, they pierce, they leave a mark. Think of the moments when someone said something to you that changed everything. Chances are it wasn't a paragraph, it was a line. You're better than this. I believe in you. You're lying to yourself. It's time to let go. So simple, so clear. But those lines hit you with the weight of truth. Why? Because they were clean, uncluttered, delivered with precision and intent. The speaker wasn't trying to be poetic, they were being real, and that reality, unfiltered and direct, left no room for misunderstanding. It went straight into your system. That's what great communicators do. They don't talk around the point, they walk right up to it and say it without apology. To speak this way, you have to know what matters most. You have to strip away the fear that says, say more so they understand. No, say exactly enough so they feel. Trust the silence that follows. Trust the weight of your words. Great writers, great leaders, great performers, they all know this. They practice the art of subtraction. They edit, not because they don't have more to say, but because they respect your attention. They don't waste it. They cut away the distractions, the qualifiers, the vague generalities. They aim for the heart, and that's why their sentences hit like thunder. Brevity also communicates confidence. When you can say something in one line, you're signaling that you know exactly what you mean. You're not searching, you're declaring. And declarations are powerful. They don't ask for permission. They don't invite debate. They stand tall and let the silence do the rest. That's not arrogance, it's clarity. And in a noisy world, clarity is rare. That's why it stands out. This is not to say that all short sentences are powerful. There are plenty of bland one-liners that disappear as quickly as they land. The key isn't just to be brief, it's to be brilliantly brief. To say something with so much truth, weight, and focus that its size doesn't reflect its power, like a spark that lights a wildfire. The impact isn't in the number of words, it's in the feeling they trigger. To speak like this, start by asking, what am I really trying to say? What's the core message, stripped of decoration? If I could only say one sentence to express this idea, what would it be? That's where your one-liner lives. That's where the fire hides. Not in complexity, but in compression. When you compress truth, it explodes. Another key, eliminate the softeners. You know the ones, I think, maybe, just, sort of, kind of. Those words don't protect you, they weaken you. They tell the audience that you're not sure. And if you're not sure, why should they be? Be bold, be exact, be direct. People don't need a cushion. They need a mirror, they need a sword. And if your words are that sword, don't dull the blade out of politeness. Speak it clearly, let it land. And finally, when you've said your one line, stop. Don't explain it, don't water it down. Don't follow it with 5 more sentences that slowly drain its impact. Let it breathe, let it hang. That's how it lingers, that's how it echoes. Brevity isn't just about the length of your sentence, it's about the space you give it to resonate. A powerful line doesn't need backup dancers, it owns the room. So let it. The ones who master brevity are the ones who master influence. They become the speakers, writers, leaders, creators who move people with just a few words. They don't fight for attention, they command it. And not by being loud, by being laser-focused, by saying the thing everyone feels, but no one has the courage to express. That's the fire, and that's what makes people remember you forever. So the next time you're tempted to ramble, pause. Ask yourself, what's the sentence that carries it all? Say that, and nothing more. Because when you cut the fluff and keep the fire, your words stop being noise. They become impact. Great one-liners aren't accidents. They may sound spontaneous, effortless, even off the cuff, but behind their impact is a deep foundation of honesty, awareness, and intentional design. If you want to say something that people remember forever, you don't just stumble into it. You craft it, you chisel it down, you test it, live it, feel it. You build it not for noise, but for resonance. Because the most unforgettable lines carry something rare in today's world: authenticity. And the moment someone hears truth wrapped in just the right words, something inside them unlocks. The sentence doesn't just sound good, it feels real, and that's when it sticks. The starting point for crafting your one-liner isn't trying to sound wise. It's asking yourself, what is the realest thing I know right now? Not the thing that sounds impressive, not the thing that matches a trend. The thing you'd say if the camera was off, the stage was gone, and it was just you and the mirror. That's your core truth, and the best one-liners come from that place. They're forged from scars, lessons, love, loss, triumph, silence. They come from something you've lived, not just something you've learned. Because here's the secret: people don't connect with perfection. They connect with precision-shaped vulnerability. A one-liner is unforgettable when it feels like someone cracked open your chest and turned a raw emotion into a sentence. Once you've found your truth, the next step is contrast. Because what makes a line unforgettable isn't just what it says, it's the angle it takes. It flips something familiar and makes it strange. It challenges assumptions. It uses paradox, tension, surprise. Think of some of the greatest lines you've heard. Die with memories, not dreams. Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. She was powerful not because she wasn't scared, but because she went on so strongly despite the fear. These aren't complicated, but they all twist the expected. They say something you didn't know you needed to hear in a way you didn't expect to hear it. That's the formula. Truth plus twist. Unforgettable. It's authentic, it's emotionally charged, and it's fresh. Too many people try to be deep by recycling cliches. But recycled doesn't resonate. It bounces off. For a line to land, it has to break the pattern. You're not looking for what sounds good. You're looking for what hits different. That might mean taking a common idea and saying it upside down. It might mean combining two unlikely concepts. It might mean choosing a word that doesn't fit, but somehow makes it all make sense. That tension is the hook. That's what makes someone stop, replay, and feel it again. And then comes the delivery, structure, rhythm, texture. A great one-liner feels like music. It flows. It has internal rhythm and tension. It lands hard because it's clean. Every word earns its spot. There are no throwaways. You might write a full paragraph and then cut 90% of it just to keep one diamond-sharp line. That's not wasted effort. It's sharpening the blade. Great artists cut. Great communicators cut. They refine until what's left is pure impact. Sometimes the one-liner is a statement. Other times it's a question. In fact, questions can be even more powerful because they open a door. They pull the listener inward. What are you pretending not to know? If not now, when? Are you living or just existing? These don't push a message. They activate the listener's own thoughts. That's the ultimate move. Not just giving insight, but igniting introspection. The moment someone hears your words and then starts talking to themselves in their mind, you've won. That line will live there for a long, long time. But all of this only works if your one-liner is rooted in you. You can't fake resonance. You can't pretend authenticity. People might not be able to explain it, but they can feel it when a line is real. That's why your most unforgettable lines often come when you're not even trying to impress, when you're just speaking from presence. So before you try to craft something clever, check your intention. Are you speaking from ego or from experience? From posture or from presence? From needing to be remembered or from needing to tell the truth? Because people don't remember the speaker who tried to impress them. They remember the one who reached something inside them. The final step? Let it sit. Don't rush to post, publish, or perform it. Say it to yourself first, out loud, in silence. Let it roll around in your mouth. Listen to it in your mind. Ask, does this land with me? Does this move me? If it doesn't hit you, it won't hit them. But if it gives you chills, if it stings a little, if it makes you pause and breathe deeper, then chances are it's real, it's ready, it's the one. Because that's what a real one-liner does. It cuts through all the noise and goes straight to the soul. It doesn't require explanation. It doesn't need to be long. It doesn't even need to be repeated. It enters and it stays. Like a seed, like a spark, like a scar. Authentic, unexpected, unforgettable. You've said the line. It landed. You felt it leave your mouth like an arrow. You saw it hit their eyes, their posture shift, the pause in their breath, and now, say nothing. That's right. Stop. Let it sit. Let it hang. Because the final and most overlooked part of delivering a powerful one-liner isn't the words. It's the silence that follows. That's where the echo happens. That's where the gravity kicks in. That's where meaning moves from surface to soul. In a world addicted to constant talking, silence is an act of power. Silence is the amplifier. Silence is the reverberation chamber where your words turn into memory. Most people ruin the impact of a great sentence because they don't trust the pause. They rush to fill it. They over-explain. They double back and say, "You know what I mean?" or "Let me elaborate." But the truth is, if it was real, if it was honest, if it was sharp and precise, it doesn't need decoration. It doesn't need explanation. Let it breathe. Let it land. Let the silence do the heavy lifting, because that pause, those seconds of stillness, that's not dead air. That's where the audience starts processing. That's where they feel it instead of just hearing it. That's when the line becomes theirs, not just yours. Silence is pressure, and pressure creates presence. When you speak a powerful line and then go quiet, you're saying, "This mattered. I trust it enough not to explain it. I believe in it enough to let it carry its own weight." And people feel that. They lean in. They sit with it. The words swirl in their chest. They start drawing connections. They start feeling, and that feeling sticks longer than anything you could have added. That's the difference between a quote and a moment. A quote is words. A moment is silence wrapped around meaning. And if you want to be unforgettable, aim for moments. Think of the most powerful performances, speeches, or conversations you've witnessed. They had pacing, rhythm, space. The speaker wasn't afraid to pause. In fact, the pause was part of the message. Because the human mind doesn't just absorb through input, it absorbs through reflection. That split second after the right sentence, that's where the line gets carved in. That's where it turns into a mirror, and mirrors don't work while you're still talking. You have to give people the silence to see themselves in what you said. Saying less and meaning more also demands discipline, because your ego will want to keep speaking. It will want to prove, to explain, to validate. But meaning doesn't come from quantity, it comes from clarity, and clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. The most memorable lines feel like secrets the universe just gave you, not because they're complicated, but because they're undeniably real. They don't need backup dancers. They don't need a hype crew. They just stand on their own, like a mountain, like a scar, like a lighthouse in the dark. And silence is what makes them visible. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do as a communicator is to stop talking, to trust the energy of your words, to hold space without scrambling to fill it. That's when people know you're not performing, you're present. You're not fishing for approval, you're offering truth. And that kind of truth resonates. It lasts. It vibrates long after you've left the room. Letting silence carry your message also shows emotional intelligence. You're not just aware of what you're saying, you're aware of how it's landing. You're giving space for reaction, for processing, for respect. You're not dominating the moment, you're co-creating it. You're saying, here's something real, I'll give you space to feel it. And in that space, people feel seen, not because you talked more, but because you made room for them. This is how legacies are built, not by being the loudest, but by being the most deliberate. When your words are few but full, when your delivery is measured, when your pauses are intentional, you shift from speaker to presence, from noise to memory. And people don't just hear you, they carry you, long after the moment ends, long after the lights fade. So as you speak your one line and it lands and the silence wraps around it like a glove, don't panic, don't rush, don't undo your own power. Let the stillness expand. Let the sentence echo. Let the weight of it settle in their chest. That's where change happens. That's where the impact locks in. That's where you become unforgettable. The greatest words are not those that impress in the moment. They're the ones that haunt in the silence after, that keep whispering when the speaker is gone. That sentence you said, let it breathe, let it echo, let it stay.